that ready?
We're going to start by that purple thing.
Let me know before you start so I can turn this on.
Okay, you can turn it on. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order now. Roll call. Everyone's here but Sandy, and she'll probably be here in a few minutes. She didn't get off till 5:30. Does anybody have an open forum? Anything to say in open forum? Okay, approval of minutes for November 14th.
I'll make a motion we approve as they're, as we've received them.
Okay, we have a motion with a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Okay. Everybody have a chance to read through Andy's book. His administrator's report. Anybody have any questions for him? And he gave us an addendum to that. What to do with it?
Can you briefly tell me, if everybody else may know, but I don't fully understand what all this DSRIP and all that.
I didn't know what it meant either.
Those kind of things.
We discussed that a while ago. And I said, would you do me a tremendous favor? I said, y'all are up here all the time, and you know what DR 5498723 is, and I don't have a clue.
Okay,
let's
let
write
Andy
it
tell
out.
us.
Let's put it out. Type it in there. We'll all be on the same page.
All of this is related to the 1115 waiver program that we're getting into. The first part of it is the uncompensated care allocation. We do not need assistance from any other hospital or Abilene Regional or Hendricksburg. We're already pre-qualified. We should be able to send our ITT up sometime in the first part of February, sometime in the middle of February it should be back. We're pre-approved for $418,000 in that part. This is for our Medicaid uncompensated care over the previous year. They take what Medicaid volume we had, calculate through a UC tool they call it, and this is what we qualified for. To get the 418, we have to send up $165,000. 2 weeks later, it comes back, it's $418,000. So we clear a profit, so to say, of $253,000 through the Medicaid program. The other part of that 1115 waiver is the district, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what DSRIP stands for, but it's the last word project. It's basically where we expand primary care in this community, and they pay us so much a year to meet each goal. And in the first year there, I think I outlined what our 4 goals have to be. I did not set the bar very high to achieve that, to get this money. But in the first year, we'll get back that $327,940, but you've got, of course, we IGT a part of that fact. The net proceeds to us is $198,000 in there. To meet the goals I have to meet to get that money are, we have to expand our exam rooms from 4 to 6 by relocating Dr. Passman's office and the central supply to another location within the hospital. That has been worked out.
Where is that?
What they call the little lab is going to become Dr. Passman's office. Since Ruthie's retirement, we're expanding the lab into those 2 rooms adjoining on the other side. And central supply, we're just going to move her desk back there where the actual central supply is now, instead of having a separate office for her. That is an easy project to fill. The other part was we needed to expand our clinic hours by 2, which we've already done by opening the clinic back up opening it at 8 in the morning and opening it back up at 1 instead of 9 and 2. So that part of it's already accomplished. The third part is we need to expand the full-time equivalent providers there to 2.3, I think, in the first, or 2.4 this next year.
How are we gonna do that?
Worked out a deal with Dr. Johnson that he's gonna start covering an extra 2 days a month in the clinic. So that gets that requirement met. And the fourth goal, of course, is that we have to start establishing a baseline on the the HCAHPS. It's a patient satisfaction survey through CMS that we're gonna have to start participating in anyway. We've been exempt because we are critical access hospital for years. They're doing away with that exemption. We're gonna have to participate. What it amounts to is every patient that comes through the clinic or as an inpatient or an outpatient will receive a letter a survey within 2 days in the mail. The first year, we just established baseline scores of patient satisfaction. The next year, we have to show improvements in those scores from this year. So the first year is just establishing the surveys and getting a baseline set. So for that, we get that disregard. The burden alleviation part of this is based off of, in our case, it's going to be Abilene Regional's uncompensated care. It's basically their part of the UC program. Abilene Regional and Hendricks are not taxing entity hospitals. They're not-for-profit. Well, Abilene Regional is, but Hendricks not-for-profit, but they're not part of a government entity that does taxes. So they are not allowed by law to IGT money to tap that uncompensated care pool. That's where they need little hospitals like us to furnish that IGT money. They can't do it on their own. They have to have us do it. Well, the rule is they can't directly pay us that money back. So that dollar that turns into $2.50 goes back to Abilene Regional. Well, Abilene Regional's willing to split that $1.50 profit, if you want to call it that, 50-50 with us. Hendricks is only willing to do a 33-67%, where they keep 67% of that $1.50. So I went to Abilene Regional, talked to them. They're willing to do a 50-50 split instead. So I don't know how Hendricks arrived at the thought that they deserve 2/3 of the proceeds out of that IGT, but anyway, Abilene Regional, through that, since they can't pay that in cash to us directly, they do it by taking over our ER physician coverage contract. And they pay it directly to the doctor instead of us paying the doctor. So it's basically, instead of us paying Dr. Passman, he'll be paid through Abilene Regional for our ER coverage. Does that make sense?
Is that why we got to restructure their contract?
That's why we have to restructure their contract, so we separate their clinic physician coverage from our ER coverage clearly in the contract. I've talked to Dr. Passman about it. He's okay with it. Dr. McSmith is familiar with it because he's dealt with it with Haskell before. He has no problem. Dr. Johnson said he didn't care as long as he still got paid. So, and of course, Terry's part of it has to be restructured because she's covering some weekday ER and a weekend every month. So that's all. It's got to be through a 1099 employee. They can't be a W-2. So that's why we're having to restructure it.
We're getting this pretty complicated now, aren't we?
It's getting very complicated, yeah. And that's why it's requiring a lot of help from DKD to make sure I don't get something crossed up here. But what it amounts to, I should have brought my worksheet with me, but last year we spent $647,000 for basically our ER physician coverage. This next year, through that program, the actual cost to the hospital is going to be $391,000. They're still getting paid the same amount, but we're trading dollars, and the actual cost for us on the IGT is $391,000. So we'll end up making about $227,000, $237,000 out of it. I think that's right. So I should have brought the worksheet with me. But it basically, for every, what amounts to, for every $1.75 a physician's compensated, it costs us $1. Because 75% of it will come, or 75 cents of it will come back from Abilene Regional through that IGT. It's a good deal for them because they get to keep 75 cents and they really haven't done anything except write the physicians a check. That's how Hendricks has funded 80% of their construction that they've done around there in the last 7 years, is through this program. They really don't do anything to earn it, but they can't tap that UC pool without our help. So that's how that program comes about.
So at the end of the year, then would Hendricks be writing, or Abilene Regional be writing that 1099 to the doctor, or do we
Yes.
still do it?
At the regional, we basically assign that ER physician coverage contract to them. And that's where I need to sit with you around how we structure it.
Not any kind of transfer agreement or any, I mean, that's all, I mean, that will give them preferential
Right.
treatment for
The
transfer.
risk
Just
for
to-
us in that agreement is that if we IGT that money up, and it all goes back to Abilene Regional, and this is done quarterly. It's something we do every 3 months. The risk for us is that first quarter. Because if Abilene Regional does not fulfill their part of the deal and pay the contracts, we don't IGT it the next quarter. So they can't by law require us to do it without, there's got to be the benefit coming back for us to keep participating in the program with them. Because part of it, we don't need their assistance with anymore.
Well, is there a written contract between us and Abilene Regional?
Not yet.
But there will be?
There will be.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, we need to get that.
So there wouldn't be any, worry about them doing it then?
No,
if they're
in the
under
history of the program, no one's ever, I think, Steve Lefevre at Fisher County told me that one time Hendricks got in a bit of a cash bind. That money's returned from the federal government within 2 weeks, and I think, Hendricks drug them 45 days on their physician contracts until they had some cash flow.
But we'll have a written agreement before that first quarter you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll have a written agreement before anything goes out in IGT. I mean, I'm
with
just
both,
gonna
not
blindly
just
send it
him,
out.
with the other one too,
Right.
right?
Exactly. And like I said, the catch to it is, it's to their benefit to make sure they fulfill their part of it, because the next 3 months later, when it comes up again, if they haven't done what they said, I don't IGT it up for them. I mean, each quarter is a standalone entry. I'm not committed to a year. I mean, if they don't, and if it comes up, we're in a
wait a
cash
minute, on
flow.
this contract, you're not gonna have to redo a contract every 3 months.
No, it's an ongoing deal, but if I don't send the IGT, they don't get the return. And so, if they don't do it.
They don't get their 75
Yeah,
cents.
they don't get their 75 cents on it. And like I said, all they're basically doing is writing a check to the doctors for the ER coverage. That's.
But if that's how they're expanding their building, I don't think you'd have any trouble getting money. Getting it back, because they're gonna get that.
But we're not going through Hendricks, we're going through Abilene
Well,
Regional.
I mean, the same thing, they're
Yeah,
expanding the same
it's
way.
just Abilene Regional gives us a better split of the profit per se of it.
Okay,
You know,
any more questions for Andy on that? I have a kind of a comment here on this, I guess this is part of your administrator's report, this department goals.
Yeah, just kind of let me all know where we're headed with that, but yeah.
In here, I noticed some areas have control costs and effectively manage the budget. Why isn't all of them? Why isn't that for all departments?
Well, it kind of is, but I mean, like I said, I'm kind of taking baby steps with
Yeah.
some of this.
Oh, I'd like to see that part of every
In
department.
every single department?
Every single one.
Well, I did have some good news for you. I mean, there's a few line items, but I mean, the original budget proposal.
Well, let's wait till we get to budget on that.
But, anyway, this is kind of a set of goals that I set down.
Which I
with
think
the
it's good.
department.
I just would like to see this added to everybody's department.
Every single one.
Yeah, I mean, I think every department over there needs to be trying to manage their budget and control their costs.
And learning more about it. So.
Anybody else got anything for Andy on his administration?
Where are you at with this prognosis payment and things?
I did get in contact with the CFO there. Honestly, I probably made an offer to him to settle it for $30,000. He kind of balked at that. But, we're proceeding to talk. I think a lot of this will come up in the first part of February. I hope I have an actual settlement offer to bring to you at the January board meeting. But, it doesn't cover what we've lost, but it's like I say, we've got to move forward. We're to the point where
Yeah,
we
we need to put that to
need to just
rest.
get this to rest and get it behind us. But, believe me, they cost us a lot more than $90,000 discount. And I think they're open to it. They realize that there's ongoing problems that we're dealing with. So I wish I could tell you it was all behind us, but it's not.
Anything else, Brandon? Okay, y'all all have a copy of your nursing home report. And so we're down to 25 census over there.
That's actually up one. I think it was 24 at the last board meeting. We've added one admission. So we actually added 2 admissions and lost 1.
Y'all have any questions on the nursing home? Okay, department heads. You have anything to add to yours?
I don't think so.
I have a comment to make on George's, not anything against you, George, but on his report he gave us, and he's got this Gibson Care Center update as part of his report. What did we pay Jimmy to do?
Jimmy,
I mean, why is
changes
George
balance.
having to do Jimmy's job?
Jimmy cannot keep the paperwork regulations straight.
Then we need to make some changes over there, I think, because of the salary for that position.
But I mean,
We-
honestly, the state regulations are something that is beyond his capability of keeping up with.
Because George should not have to worry about the hospital and Jimmy's job when Jimmy's being paid to do that job. That's my feelings on it. I
But
don't
he
know.
does the work, but he doesn't do the paperwork, is that what I'm?
Yeah, that's basically.
Evidently, a lot of the work's not done over there either, so. That's
Right.
just something that I think we need to really check into.
Well,
And it's not
why
that
ain't
I'm
he getting it done,
pointing
anyway?
fingers at him,
Oh,
it's
I
just that he's our
understand.
maintenance man over
He
there.
can't handle it.
And we need to get,
I
we
mean, the
need
changing of
to
the light
get,
bulbs and things, what is it that he's not
I
getting
think
done?
No, she's talking about.
I think we need to take care of that.
The
And maybe
paperwork
after our
of
new
it,
administrator gets
oh.
here, it's something that he can manage, but I don't think George should have to do both. I don't know how y'all feel, but I just think that it's something.
Well, up until now, you weren't doing it. Up until this last year, you haven't been doing anything per se over the nursing home, have you?
Not really per se.
I mean, really, Jimmy's done everything that's been more or less asked of him, and we're just now saying we want more, and so we put it on you because we knew Jimmy couldn't
But
handle
with
it.
everything being done, that needs to be done.
Well, evidently not, but what
Yeah.
we're saying, I mean,
That's just
we're
his
telling
area.
George to do it now because it hadn't been done, but we never
Right.
knew it wasn't being done.
Right,
What
that's what I'm
brought this
saying, though.
on? I mean, did we get, written up over it or
Yes.
something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Good written
that's
up.
Well,
the
that,
problem.
that could be a shortfall in our
Administration.
current,
That's what I'm
current
saying.
administrator of the
Well, we
nursing
don't have
home.
one now, but,
Well,
Well, we do, yes.
well, we do until, actually, I guess we do until the end
well,
of the year.
he's gone, though, isn't he?
Well,
Yeah,
he's
he's
gone,
physically
but
gone, but
he's
it's-
still.
But what
he's
I'm
paid.
saying, when we get our new administrator in there, this is one of the things I think he needs to really, I know he's gonna really look at everything, but I think we're asking a lot of George to do both things.
Well, in one regard, I think Jimmy does a lot of work over there.
Oh,
Now, I
yeah.
don't know about the paperwork part of it, but he does a lot of work.
Well, and he may do a lot of work, but I don't like seeing our hospital maintenance person having to be responsible for our nursing home maintenance person,
Well,
when we're paying a man over there to do that job.
I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying Jimmy does a lot of work over
Well, and he may,
there.
I
Maybe
don't.
not the right, maybe not all the right kind of work, but he does a lot of work over there.
Right.
What
And-
would, who would do that work? George, you don't have time for that.
What he does?
Yeah.
No.
to paint the walls and,
Oh,
you know,
I like that.
things like that. So what we gonna
Jimmy
do
does
there?
good with stuff like that. What I guess what I'm talking about is well, like the life safety inspections, the rewiring the WonderGuard system. I mean, that's the type of stuff that's beyond, but if you want something painted or fixed or.
Instead of him being,
Yeah.
guess what Debbie's trying to say is, or this is my opinion, is we need a maintenance supervisor, and Jimmy could be the worker under the supervisor. But right now, we're having to get our hospital maintenance guy to be in charge of both, so.
And I don't.
I mean, but I think that's something that Stephen
Well,
will
I
have to
agree,
do.
George shouldn't have to be going over and doing that stuff, but I'd hope that our new administrator can figure all that out.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
I think when he gets here, he will. I'm just saying that I think that's something that he needs, he needs to address, because I don't think it's right. That's probably why we can't ever get anything finished, you got to go back
George has
and
got a
forth.
lot of stuff finished.
I know.
I've been on the board.
I know that, but what I'm saying is,
Well, we're saying we need a supervisor for the hospital, nursing home next time. So that's something they can do next.
okay, we have any medical staff concerns? We don't have anyone here with medical.
Dr. Passman, give me a message to you guys that things are looking up and improving all the time, so. Well, he didn't feel the need to bother y'all tonight. He'd see you next year.
He just didn't want
Is
to
this
see it.
rehab services, is that part of the department?
Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question about this? Because it's always on there about, waiting for an okay to hire part-time help.
Right.
Do we not already have somebody working over there part-time?
I allow her to contract help from Clay and, what's the other one? I keep forgetting that other lady's name. I don't think she's been used very often. Ashley. But whenever she gets so many appointments, Clay comes in and helps her, but it's on a, like I said, a subcontract or whatever. It's not what she's wanting is to add Clay in there 20 hours a week. So we'll be paying a total of 60 hours, and I've never okayed that.
I don't think that would be okay.
Well, is Clay the only one that could be part-time help? Is there not somebody that?
Ashley, Robert Branch's daughter. Bale, is that what I said?
Okay, and then in doing that, what would the cost factor be? Where I'm
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, you're guaranteeing it probably be around $60 an hour for 20 hours a week, so we'd be incurring, what would that be?
Wasn't that
I'm
120?
going blank here. Yeah, $1,200 a week you're adding, I think, is what you're to the budget out there that I've never okayed. And sometimes she gets by with 10 hours with Clay. There was 1 week there where she had 42 physical therapy patients, and we used him 32 hours, I think, for 33.
But some weeks we might
But
not
some
have
weeks we
anybody.
don't have anybody.
So in other words, it's cheaper at the way we're going now.
If we consistently have to keep using Clay or anyone else for 20 hours a week, I'd say that we'll save money by making them part-time and putting them on staff. But
Why?
it's been for 8 to 10 weeks that we've had to do it.
Why would that be cheaper?
Well, because then you can
Schedule
it better, and it just works out a little easier in the long run. Because then you can also get it at a cheaper rate, at a guaranteed rate. Because if you hired them, you'd probably hire them at $50 or $55 an hour versus paying a contract at $65. But until you know for sure the volume, so we'll support it over an extended period, you're better off.
Well, that's good. I was just looking for a cheaper way to do it.
Yeah, that's why I have not okayed it to this point.
Okay, the accounts payable. I'm telling y'all people, this is just really, something's gotta be done on accounts payable. For hospital, nursing home, ambulance, when we had to move $300,000 in November. We only took in $350,000, and we wrote checks of $505,000. We can't keep doing that. That's pretty
Not
soon.
stay open.
No, and then we've got the nursing home, $500,000 below their revenue, and then we've got the ambulance, going in the hole every month. Somewhere, something's got to stop. You know, pretty soon, you're gonna run out of money.
In a hurry.
Yeah, we can't keep covering everybody, and we can't keep spending $200,000 more a month than we're bringing in. I don't know what's gonna happen, but, you know, pretty soon, if we're supporting the nursing home, if the ambulance uses up their CD money and they're not bringing any money in, something's got to give.
Do you have any suggestions?
Well, no, because I haven't seen what everybody's spending for sure, but you can't keep operating a business in the hole every month.
I did have a report from IHM today. We are through the November, December, January, February APS accounting now on the old stuff, on the old building. They've gotten what they can build out from that period.
Can we still collect on any of that?
Yeah, all the Medicare and Medicaid, and that's why they were focusing on that, because you have a one-year filing deadline on all that, on Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Medicare. We're through that portion of it. We're caught up on Blue Cross, Blue Shield now, and Aetna and United through August. Medicare, we're almost up to August. It's changing fast. There was $297,000 worth of abstracted stuff turned in this week for billing. We have the alternatives program now caught up through the end of August. Physical therapy is through the end of August at this point on recurring Medicare charges. Where we're still not caught up is on the current stuff. They've been focused so much on going back as far as they can. So you got to remember, we've still got a lot of claims out there that just now we're starting to get filed and get processed. Because they've been focusing on the old stuff and working through it.
Have you started seeing any money coming in from those old ones from almost a year ago?
Well, the money we are getting in is pretty well from that stuff. We're not really getting any of the money in on the current stuff. What you're seeing incoming is old stuff from as far back as.
How long do we think it's gonna be before we're up to current?
Probably, they're telling me that they think another 60 days they can get caught up.
And if those old claims, if there's problems with any of them, will we know in time to resubmit before we run?
That's what they've done so far, and that's why we're up to where we're at. We're pretty well got everything we can do up through August.
And they're doing all this?
They pretty well have done all of this. Yeah.
Okay, now, what are our people doing?
Okay, we're going back through and doing the follow-ups on those claims to see which ones did not pay within the time. They're giving us a report of what was submitted. We go back and do the follow-ups, see if the payments have actually showed up, and then resubmit the claim that didn't pay.
So we're not doing any current billing.
We're doing a little bit of it. What we can do on clinic visits, on the CPT and the coding, I think Deborah can verify that our coding that went out this last month was double what the normal volume was, because we were catching up on all the old stuff and getting the big current stuff out. We're still probably 60 days behind on clinic visit billing.
On current?
On current clinic visit billing.
You know, people really don't like that.
Oh,
I've had some
understand,
complaints, you know, about getting a bill for something 3 months ago, you know.
Yeah, and I understand it, and they're catching it up as fast as they can. I mean, it's
Well, once we get current, are we gonna be able to stay current?
With our
that's the
personnel.
whole point of the whole system. I mean, it's.
I know it's the point of it, but are we gonna have people that can do it?
No.
Are we gonna have people that will
On
do it?
site? Yeah,
Will
with
our
the
people
hospital.
be able to do it, instead of having this other group from Lubbock come and do it?
Truthfully say no.
Okay, let me ask you this, once we get current, we have these other people doing it, what's these people here gonna do?
will they have to continue to, we don't have anyone doing billing here now in our hospital.
I know, but once we become current, it's not gonna take that many people to follow up, is it?
No, we only have one doing it. But right now, I have other people doing it, to help with the catch-up, but that's not gonna be their long-term job.
So there will not be anybody, or there is not anybody here that, say, once all this gets current, there is not gonna be anybody here working at our hospital that can handle keeping it current and use this system.
No.
So hiring outside is an ongoing deal.
For a while, until we, eventually, when we get caught up and we can start training. Right now, we're just playing catch-up. There's no training going on. It's strictly
So is there
research
anybody
that's
that
trained.
will be able to do it,
They have had training. and
or that will
we
do
know
it after the training?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
No, I mean, you said there's not anybody right now, but if they get more training, is there anybody that will be able to handle it with more training, is my question.
Oh, yeah, I think so, eventually.
Okay.
Because I know our ultimate goal is to bring it all back in-house eventually and not have this outside company doing it, but.
Well, it's like one or two things, either
But
we
I think
need
there's
people
been-
in-house and we have it hired to, done. We either get rid of the people that we're having to hire, or we get rid of the people that are supposed to be doing it if they can't come up to speed.
Right now, the structure within the business office, I know we've had to develop, start with medical charting. In the past, we've tried to keep all of our patient charts in the clinic. Well, that's because why keep them in two places if you can do it? Well, the problem is that that's illegal. You can't keep outpatient charts in your clinic chart. It's not legal. I can't explain to you the reason behind it, it's just not. So we're having to build a medical records charting back in the hospital for all of our outpatient procedures that's separate from clinic visits. Okay. Well, then we had problems with the admissions. I think you probably heard some people complain, well, if I go into the clinic, I have to do an admissions here with the clinic admissions. And then if I have to have an x-ray done, I have to go around here to outpatient admissions in the hospital and do it separately. Well, that's a legal requirement. We have to pretend like there's a street separating our hospital and our clinic. Even though they're physically attached, there's just some things we can't share. We have in the past, but it's not legal. So now we have a clinic admissions person and an outpatient admission person. Created a whole new job set there for us. And then we have another person responsible for accounts receivable and another one for accounts payable. And I can assure you, they're not goofing off. They're working their tails off trying to catch up. Of course, we have another person that's entering charges. Well, it was illegal to have the same person entering charges that's also entering the payments when they're settling the EOBs back to the patient account. It's an audit trail. So there again, we had to split duties that one person was doing in the past.
Well, what we've gotta do right now, we've just gotta concentrate on getting current
And getting legal.
and getting legal, and then when we get there, we'll worry about who's gonna continue.
How are we
doing it.
coming on the computer record, that we, decided to go with instead of just the paper, you know what I'm talking about?
Amazing chart.
Oh, and that's the one thing,
Amazing
Yes, the chart.
The papers.
that part, I can assure you, is working well. That's proceeding on time and working like it's
How
supposed to.
far along is it?
It's implemented and going. At the end of every day.
All of the records.
At the end of every day, all clinic visits are we produce a super bill that they're ready to be set off and be coded. So we've got a stack of them now that's ready to go as soon as we get time to start entering those into the system and get them going. The amazing chart part of it's working good.
Good.
What is it,
We're
this
still-
J.W. Anderson Accounting Services? Isn't
That's-
that the old
That was
account?
the old account.
What are we
That
paying
was
him
the
17?
settle.
That
Settle
settled
up.
out our final,
And what do we pay people on mileage?
58 cents per mile.
Some of them go a lot of distance.
We pay a lot of mileage, and I can see that, but what is the alternative program, has that bus been broke down?
Some, and then we've got, the main part of that is we've got one patient that we have to pick up from, Stanford, that the bus can't make the route to Stanford and get them back in time, so they go and get that one patient.
Talking about Choo-Choo Bill or whatever. One of them was to repair a lift on there.
Yeah, sure.
And, the motor on the lift burned up on that.
And is that alternative, van at Hardeman County? I noticed we paid them a chunk of money too. Is that?
I'm hoping that was the last one, that was.
Yeah, I think it was for August, I believe it said, and we wouldn't pay until in November.
And they're,
So we paid
we
that.
were with them through September the 14th.
Okay. You know, is that van, are they gonna come get it?
They were supposed to come get it first week, and they never have bothered to.
Yeah. I'd like to see it gone. I mean,
We can charge them for
well, I mean, I don't, or, you know, if something happened to it, well, then they may come back on us back.
Well, I wondered about that, but yeah, I've received a email basically saying that, well, for your sake, I hope you're not using our van.
We'll send them an email, tell them we're gonna have it impounded.
Yeah,
For
we're
your
gonna
sake, you need to come get it off
charge
our parking
storage
lot.
for it.
But yeah,
Okay, on this, y'all have any more questions on the hospital accounts payable? Okay, on the ambulance accounts payable, I see where they cashed that one CD in March. Do they have another CD? And so far this year, they've lost $105,000.
no, that was, yeah, Eddie, if you take out the subsidies and the, CD that was cashed, the actual operating losses were $105,000. For November of 2011 for October of 2012.
What is the CD that's left?
The 30,000.
How much, 30?
The 30.
What did we cash in?
A 30 in March.
What is the status of, Jennifer Shields?
She is on FMLA unpaid leave at present.
What's all those initials?
Oh, this is Family Medical Leave Act.
Means that we have to hold that job open
Have to
for her,
hold it.
we don't have to pay her.
We don't have
We
to
just have
pay
to
her.
hold that job open for so many months.
9
Okay,
days.
you know, I think when, we, had our last meeting with her and kinda reworked all this stuff, she was gonna be responsible for the billing, and I noticed we're still paying these other people to do the billing,
Yes, sir.
and she was gonna be writing, some things up for us to get some of these grants she was talking about. You know, if we could cut these other people out on the billing deal, that would save us some money right there. If we could
Can't
get
do
some of
anything
those
for 9
grants.
days.
Yeah, I got it in my hand. Well, right after we had that board meeting, I think it was November, she worked the first week, and then part of the second week, and then all of a sudden, I can't find her anymore. Well, supposedly she's been in and out of the hospital. I know, and she came back in this last month, and I sat down with her and we talked, and I told her that, you know, we had to get things under control, the billing needed to be taken, I needed to know what was going on with the RAC grants, and at that point, she informed me of her physician's orders to her, and, that's when the decision was made to put her on FMLA leave, and right
And what
now,
day was that?
effective November the 27th.
So when does she come back?
She can't come back until she receives a physician's order for full duty. I told her I would not accept a light duty physician order. She's got to be able to return for full duty.
And how long does she have to do that?
90 days.
90 days.
So about the end of February.
That's the best way I knew to handle this situation.
Well, something's gonna have to be done with the ambulance, because they're $30,000.
Well, I think probably somebody's gonna have to talk to the county and the city. I think the subsidies are gonna have to go up.
I talked to one commissioner and one city councilman this last week about this after I got all this done. County commissioner was already aware of it, and the city councilman, balked a bit, but, I don't think we're gonna have any trouble out of the commissioners over it, but I guess the truth will be when we actually go in and talk to them about it. But that was the conclusion I came to as well, that,
Well, the
I
ambulance
did-
shouldn't
At
be
what
our
point
sole
do you think we'll-
responsibility.
no, it's not. Something to remember, that the hospital district nor the city is required to maintain an EMS service in any county. That, it comes to the county's responsibility. If you wanted to be, I mean, it could be dropped right back in the county's lap to handle the whole thing, but I don't think that would be fair. And honestly, you get to looking at things, I mean, the hospital subsidizes a lot more than $2,000 a month out there. I mean, we incur the electrical costs, the copy machine costs, and everything else out there that's above and beyond the $2,000 we bill. I had BKD with the auditors do a quick study of what would happen if we did make the EMS a hospital-based service. It would dilute our Medicare reimbursements to the tune of about $140,000 a year on our cost report. So that's an option that I will tell you that we never can go to. I mean, this can never be a hospital-based or hospital district-based EMS service. It's got to maintain its own identity. I know we cross some gray areas occasionally with some of the things we do with it, but bottom line is it's kind of like the nursing home. We can never allow it to become part of our hospital cost report through Medicare.
Well, like this month so far, the ambulance service is already $9,600 in the hole.
Yeah, well, that was through the,
Well, it's
Oh.
through, right here, through the 19th.
through the
He hasn't paid
Yeah,
yet.
but I'm just saying, well, that'll bring it back down to $7,600, but they only have $13,000 in the bank. Okay, when this $13,000 is gone, they're gonna have to cash in their next CD. What are they gonna do when that CD's gone?
it's, in comparison, we've only got 1,300 or 1,800 and, yeah, 1,700 in collections so far for December. I mean, when I had this.
Well, I know,
it
but
always
every
been bad,
single
so-
month has been a loss,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I mean,
and
it's pretty evident that it's fairly consistent on what it's been, but.
I think it's time to talk to the city and the county. I don't know at what point you think it is, but I think it's time now.
Now to go.
But even if you went up to, asking
'Cause
for
they're
an
not-
additional
yeah.
$1,000 a
They've
month,
gotta-
that's not gonna cover what we're
No.
talking
No,
about.
it's
And
not.
now, they want health insurance, and I don't think the hospital needs to be responsible for their health insurance. They need to be able to subsidize their own health insurance, because we can't afford to keep throwing money into it.
Oh, I understand that, that's.
But now, on the health insurance, you're talking about 3 people.
Yes.
And we just took on the health insurance of how many people at the nursing home.
Yeah, but that's different though. We own the nursing home.
100%, we don't own that ambulance.
We don't own the ambulance.
We got 30.
But I know, what I know,
And
we
we're-
don't own it, it's licensed under the hospital, and we're subsidizing the ambulance.
But it's like Andy said, it needs to be its own.
And that's one of the things, our
Entity.
ambulance is up for relicensure here in February. And one of the things that I will change is this thing will be licensed for future under the Stonewall County Ambulance Service. It will not say on that license Stonewall Memorial Hospital again.
Well, I think at the time the last time that it was renewed, we were told, and this was been told to the ambulance board at the time, that if you change the name on it, it would create a whole bunch more paperwork.
Hell, it might, but
Well, isn't it under the Stonewall County ambulance?
what's that?
Isn't it listed as Stonewall County ambulance?
Well, we're doing business as Stonewall County Ambulance Service, but Marvin's right, the name on the license is Stonewall Memorial Hospital. And I guess that happened when
And that was
Jerry
before.
and whenever who had it private last turned it over to the county.
After Jerry's Moorhead.
Jerry, yeah.
Moorhead
whenever
had
they-
it next.
At some point, whenever they applied for the license after they give it up, I think is when.
For our Medicaid,
Mhm.
is it Medicaid or Medicare, we can't,
Medicare.
Medicare, we
Yeah.
can't own the ambulance.
Because that'll knock us back $140,000.
That's just a quick estimate. I mean, it could be even more than that. I mean, you look at the the actual revenues coming in there, it's all at 202,000 for a year. I mean, that's potentially what the hit could be on the hospital.
I don't have anything against the EMS employees having health insurance. I don't think the hospital should be responsible for paying all of it. That's
No,
why
you
it
can't.
should be,
I mean,
But I don't think the
three
hospital
entities
should
should
pay.
cover it.
If he's gonna separate them and he's gonna put Stonewall County Ambulance on the license, then their health insurance is gonna have to come under the
They're gonna
ambulance
have to be
service.
in.
And they're gonna have to be able to
Separate group,
subsidize, they're gonna have to make enough money to do it themselves.
Or be subsidized.
Mhm.
The lady, Michael Oldman with BKD, not Debbie Whitley at this point, but he told me that as a hospital district, we would be far better off increasing our subsidy to the point where this place could break it than we would be allowing this to become a hospital-based service.
But look at $105,000, and that's including the subsidies they already get.
Yes.
Even if we.
Well,
if
but
we-
you know, but the thing of it is, we've got to have it. How do we make it make more money?
I don't know.
That's the whole thing, I mean, we're talking about, to me, it's kinda like,
Go
we're
run
saying we've
over
got to do
somebody
this,
so
but
they
it's like,
can
until we
run
can come up with
ambulance.
some solutions to help them make more money, I think we're gonna have to continue to subsidize as much as we can. I think we're gonna have to kick in what we need to, because who else is gonna do it?
Exactly.
I mean,
Well,
we
I
can
agree.
complain
We can
all the
get
time
that.
about we've got to make more money, but unless we come up with a solution or find ways to cut it, or help them subsidize their own selves, that's just quit griping about it and figure out how we can afford it.
In the addendum on my administrator's report, I did put a whole section there of some things that cost us this last year, that we won't be seeing
Yeah, I
again.
saw
mean,
that.
Right.
But going back to that insurance, those three people cannot be on the group policy that we currently have?
No, not for the hospital, no.
They're not employees.
They're not employees of the we're kind of, I don't know.
It's a fine line.
It's a very fine line there because,
And then when he goes in and separates it back to the ambulance and takes it off the hospital, then that's an even bigger.
you know, we're already paying the, director's salary out of the, in the payback from the check deal right to the hospital every month. So we're talking about technically adding the cost for two people.
Was there any way that we can all say, for, you know, I don't know about the cost of what we'd have to do to everybody increase their supplement. But say we all did it up to 3,000 or all went up to 4,000, could we quit paying the director out of the hospital? I mean,
Yes.
it's like, at that point,
At
if we
that
say,
point, yes,
if we
it would
say,
be.
you know, the
She would
hospital,
go-
the city, and the county,
If we
they all
did-
come up with $4,000, they could sustain themselves theoretically.
Yeah, we would quit generating her paycheck through the hospital payroll.
And
So
that would
if
be
each
helpful
one of
to
us
us.
gave 4,000?
That'd be 12,000, yeah, that's what I'm just saying, you know, I mean, so, it's like, if we're trying to get it off our back and make sure they have the money, if we all give them, you know, the city and the county and all of us pitch in the 4,000 instead of the 2, would that help where they could be their own little entity under us?
Yes, yes.
And then we wouldn't have to worry about getting them on our group insurance with the
No.
hospital, we wouldn't have to pay the director through us, we wouldn't have to be walking that fine line, we're saying
We're
this is
drawing
it.
more distinct lines between the three entities, I mean, nursing
I
home,
mean, I think
hospital,
that's something that we need to look at.
Well, if they're, I mean, if
In
the
this point-
county and the city is willing to up theirs $2,000, I mean, I don't have a problem with us upping ours $2,000. But before we even before we even need to go there,
We need to see
we need
the
to meet
city.
with them and
Yeah.
see.
Right.
If they
And-
can
and
all into
one of
the-
Because it's not gonna do us any good to speculate.
One of the deals that's happened to the EMS, and it's true to, like everything, there's part truth in it, but, you know, their runs are extremely, they're cut in half from where they usually are. When we're sitting here looking at why. And an unintended consequence of Dr. Passman's admission policies and the CT scan being on site now is that we're not transferring patients out to get CTs,
Kind of a
and we're not
catch-22.
transferring patients out to Adler.
We're bringing more money into the hospital,
We're
but we're
bringing
taking
more-
it away from the
Yeah,
ambulance.
one of the unintended consequences is that we're bringing more, it's exactly what you're saying, we're keeping more money in-house on the hospital side, and then we're losing it
But
back.
that only started, when did Dr. Passman start to work?
August first.
August 1st. Okay, that only started August 1st.
Oh, yeah.
You have to look back, prior to that, the only month they didn't have a loss, really, was the month we added the $30,000, and one month they made $345, so you can't blame all that
Oh,
on
no,
Dr.
it's-
Passman,
And it-
because there were issues before.
Our run volumes have gone from an average of 26 to 33 down to, what were they, 9 last month? And I think they're on a pace to be about the same this month. I mean, so, and that's part of the issue. I mean, we're just in a drought of EMS
Then
runs
you
too.
got
at
the
the same
staff
time.
that we're having to keep it staffed with, that, you know, y'all did give them a pay increase this year.
And we've got to
Yeah.
have the ambulance, but we've got to have the ambulance where, I don't know the answers to it, but the hospital can't just keep pumping money into everything. Because eventually, we're gonna run out of money, and then everybody loses.
I mean, I sat there and worked this out thinking that I would see the trends, and, I mean, it verified what I think y'all all knew already. I mean, it was,
Well, do we need to make a motion to suggest that you talk to the city and the county about
We
raising theirs?
can't do
and
that,
so-
because that's not on here.
Can we put it up?
We just-
I can make sure it's on the, you know.
Or you can start
And he can just go talk to them, I mean, and then may have to set a meeting up with them, but,
But again, I mean, you know, the $6,000 a month is not gonna sustain them no matter what. They have to have their money coming in. But I feel like, I mean, again, I guess my thing is, we've got to support them as long as we can. And instead of saying they've got to cut, I don't know where they would cut. You know, your gas has gone up, it's gone down, we're paying motel and meals and mileage. You know, maybe that's helped because we have their own little room now, we don't have to pay as much of the motel. You know, $1,200 for communication, I'm sure that's new radios, shouldn't have to do that. You know, there's a lot of things that we did, but I mean, instead of us just saying they've got to cut it, we've got to help them cut it, or Andy has, and I think that's what he's trying to do. But I mean, instead of us, I mean, to me, when I hear us talking about it, it's like, well, if they don't pay their way, we're gonna shut them down.
I don't
And
think anybody
that's what
said
it
that.
sounds like, but that's
No.
almost the intention, it's like, well, they've got to cut their budget, and it's like, where can they cut it?
Nobody said they had to cut their budget, but there has to be money coming from somewhere, Martha. You
Oh,
can't
I know,
keep
but I'm just
going
saying
in
that
the hole
I
every
agree,
month.
I agree, but all I'm saying is, you know, I
If
think
we
as a
get
board, we
more
need to look for,
subsidies,
try, see what we can
that's
come
fine.
up with some suggestions
But-
and stuff, so that's all my
Well,
comment.
I think we're just gonna have to ask the city and the county for some more
Because you
subsidy
can't make,
right now and tell them, you know, and it was decided by the ambulance board, and I think rightfully so, that you have to have that thing staffed with the proper people.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna
you're,
open yourself for a lawsuit.
Well, if you don't have the proper staff on there, we don't need it to begin with.
no,
And that's why the money is going away, is because we're having to pay for the proper people. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, in the past, I think.
And they're not making the runs.
Well, that,
right, and you can't
you were
make that
basically
happen.
spending $100 a day to keep two basics
I
in
gotta
the
go
call
make
for
sure
that
the
truck,
order
where
got
now
sent.
we're spending $250 a day to keep a paramedic and a basic on the phone. So you increase that cost
We
$150
should not
a
have
day.
cut our tax rate. That's beginning to look ugly.
Well, we didn't really cut our tax rate.
Well, we didn't go,
Roll
Yeah.
we rolled back.
But I-
Values went up. We're still getting basically the same money that
And
we
we don't
got.
need the same money, we need more money.
Yeah, but-
Where else you gonna get money?
But I wish, for one thing, that we had agreed to back there with Jennifer, is that she take over that billing and we don't have to pay these other people. That's one way we can save money.
Well, maybe
Well, that's
when she comes
$8,000 a
back,
year, right? Yeah,
How much?
it's part of her deal, it's
How much would it save, Randy?
$8,000 a year. I mean, that's a big chunk, that's a big chunk. I
Well,
mean,
that'll help, you know.
but, I mean, you look at the extra expenses we had this last year, getting back into compliance, uniform expense, whatever it was, the money that was spent, putting into the apartment, the motel rooms that you were having to board people in. I mean, you're looking at about $22,000 that you spent last year that I don't think will be necessary this year.
and that'd be great.
And that's a big help, so.
And the other thing is, you know, I took it that we could get some grants of different kinds, you know, for different things. And
That was said.
I would like to see us
And
at
I
least
haven't
try to
looked
do
into that
that.
a whole lot. The only one I've looked into personally is the RAC grant for, basically trucks, but I mean, I'm past that now. I mean, I hope that, you know, maybe one day in the future we can have a backup ambulance, but right now,
I don't think we can have that.
yeah, no. I think the only other grant I'm aware of is about a $4,500 administrative grant through the RAC that helps with, administrative costs of running an ambulance service, but.
Well,
that's not a
you
huge
know,
amount of money.
I certainly didn't want anybody to think I want us to do away with the ambulance, I don't. But I also know
You can't keep spending in the
we
hole.
just can't keep
We
going
all-
the hole.
We're
I
not the
agree.
federal
We can't-
government, you're saying?
Yes, I mean, somewhere the bleeding has to stop. I mean, and it's not just the ambulance, it's the hospital, it's the nursing home, you know.
Well, on the nursing home, I don't have the answer. I know that, I'm confident that over the next few months as our billing gets straightened out and we're catching up on, see, we got enough claims out there in the on the hospital side now, that when we get them paid, I think we're in good shape. But our issue now is getting our system in place. The call from IHM today was to inform me that, you know, they're catching up on all the old stuff, and they were giving me the good news, and then they dropped the bad news on me. And that was that they found that all of our recurring claims through the alternatives program and physical therapy, where you have a patient that's seeing recurring visits, they don't know why the DDE system never received those through Medgenics. And they just found out that their current, they went back and looked, because I was asking questions about the CT revenues. Well, they decided whenever they were looking at that, they found alternatives that we haven't been paid on those claims since July. But they've all been billed, so they're showing up as a bill not paid report. Well, then they get to looking on the Medicare site. Medicare never received them, but yet the Medgenic system's telling everybody that they're sent and out. And that's where our issue run in, and because of this balloon payment issue with prognosis, I have a little trouble getting cooperation out of them to get some of these issues fixed, and that's why we need to get it behind us.
Okay, so on this health insurance proposal, we just wanna table that till Andy's had a chance to talk to the county and the city.
Well, is that gonna be, forced on us, mandated on us before too long?
October,
They will have to have insurance, yes, with Obamacare, yes. But if they're not part of us, they'll have to have their own.
And they're broke.
Or they may have to pay for part of their insurance.
and that's in the proposal.
Okay, let's move on to the budget. Which I still wasn't happy with the nursing home budget at all. You only lowered it like $27,000.
I thought it was 47.
At least you lowered it that much.
I went.
Or what's 20 or 40 when you're only a half a million in the hole
Yeah,
anyway?
behind, I understand.
I don't understand that. And plus, that was based on 27 patients, and now we're down to 25.
The nursing, Stephen's been looking at this, and when he was here today, of course, there was no time to really sit down and talk to him. And in detail. But the biggest portion of the budget corrections we're gonna have to do there are gonna have to come on the revenue side corrections. I mean, I think we're all aware of that, being the charge capture, being paid for what we're actually doing. And that is going to be his number one priority coming in. Right now, we're figuring we're getting paid on an average of $137 per day per resident. Well, that average should be at $170 to $180 per day if we were capturing our charges correctly. So that's his first priority. Well, that fixes a lot of our budget problems there. He's been going through this because I basically I give him a copy of the original. He's been going through line item by line item the way I built it and showing me where, or he showed me a few areas, but where we are overstaffed.
I think when he
There's
gets
gonna be
here,
some labor cuts there.
we'll just have to let him, I think he's a smart enough man that he'll be able to sit down and he'll be able to do everything that needs to be done over there.
I mean, I don't see him being able to make it a profitable business overnight, but he should be able to help things, and
Right.
I just don't know that we're gonna.
Well, we just need someone to take control
Yeah.
and know what's going on over
And
there.
we're gonna have to wait for a better picture until he gets it through.
Well, we don't have a good picture of anything. We don't have a good picture of the hospital, we don't have a good picture of the nursing home.
Well, Andy, are we working towards on this general ledger business, like, just take that alternative program, for instance, you know, you got on that report in there, and it tells you what the charges are, you know,
Yes,
but that's charges, we hadn't collected it.
right.
And-
That was what
and-
started-
But we don't know, it doesn't tell you anything about the expenses of the program. If you know, if you got the revenue and you got the expenses, you can kinda tell.
Oh, well, now, maybe I misled y'all a little bit there, but Deborah and Jean have the expense side of that Magenic program working properly. I mean, I could bring y'all in an operating statement that's generated off of Magenics right now, and I can assure you that Deborah and Jean's part, where the expenses are itemized per department, that's working. Where it throws
That's
you
what
off.
I'm asking, do we have that?
Yes, and that's what I based
And that
all
would be
these numbers
helpful on the next budget, is what I'm getting at.
Well, hopefully
Exactly.
by the next budget,
Where the GL
Things will
ledger
be-
is not working right yet to this day is on the revenues portion of it, where we've got the charges, adjustments, and then the actual payments coming in. That's the part that they have not got mapped out correctly yet.
but we haven't had any payments coming in, so that shouldn't be a
Well,
problem.
some of them are, I mean, we're getting some money in all the time, but I mean, but that's where the issue, and right now, that's where I can't match payments coming in back to the months where the charges were. That's why Deborah can't close out her months and get the year end closed out. I mean, it's crazy. And I understand that's where but I could generate the operating statements out of Magenics right now, and I could show them to you, and I assure you the expenses side of it's gonna be right. Deborah's done a good job of spreading. The problem you have there is you look at the top where the revenues aren't there, and of course it makes your loss at the
I'm
bottom
not
look
questioning
ridiculous.
my question isn't about whether anybody's doing their job.
Oh, no, it
My
is-
question is about, is the general ledger, are we ever gonna get it straightened out to where, you know, at the end of the year, we can look at something that tells us revenue and expenses, you know,
Yeah,
so we can work on a budget that.
Oh, I think it would be nice to get it at the end of each month.
At the end of each month,
Well,
and
yeah,
that's
it
the.
would, but
And I'm sure it'd be nice for them to be able to
If
do
the
that.
rule
you
of
can't
thumb-
do the revenue side of it, well, you're not.
And the rule of thumb, the BKD sent a field auditor in, when was she here, 2 weeks ago? But anyway, I think she was anticipating, and this is kind of a funny but sad story at the same time, but she was planning on being here for a few hours one day to kind of get a feel of what we needed to pull for the cost report, looking at, she wound up there for 2 days. But she came back to me before she left. She came into my office and sat down and she said, look, she said, this is a mess. I said, well, I told y'all that, this is a mess. She said, but I don't see anything there we can't correct. So their goal is by the end of January to have this fixed and in some kind of a format that we can start getting an operating statement for the last year and go forward, where each month the board can get a operating statement of the hospitals and clinic separate. I mean, they're gonna run two separate ones. You're gonna see an operating statement for the clinic and an operating statement for the hospital each time.
There's no way to get that broke out for the nursing home?
Eventually we can, but right now, the nursing home stuff is.
Lumped in with the hospital.
It's lumped
But
in.
that alternative program, when you're lifting those charges, that's just charges, but you know, like a while ago, you hadn't been able to get to where you can file those.
But the good thing about alternatives is we know that they're all Medicare patients, and all of them have secondaries, so our actual, when we get our payments in on the alternatives program, it totals up to about 93% of charges. So whenever you look at the charges for that program a month, you can take 7% off of it, and you know that's where the actual revenue's gonna show up on that program. Physical therapy's a bit different because there's so many commercial policy insurance, patients out there. It generally works out at about 65 to 70% of the charges in physical therapy. Anywhere you have an outpatient Medicare procedure done, that's 95% of charges. So you, depending on where it falls into which category, you can kind of have a historical reference of where your charges are.
But you're working to where you can post the charges, I meant the expenses, to the department.
To the department, yes. The expenses are there, and now we're working on getting the revenues there. It's coming closer every day, it's just, it's not totally there yet.
Okay, so what do y'all wanna do about this budget?
Um,
Can we keep,
One other thing I wanted to say, that as a whole right now, I mean, I did the rough numbers one day last week, but the hospital through 2.5 months, on the numbers that I presented on this budget, we're running about 4.5 to 5% under in each department on the budgeted expenses. There's a few line items that are getting out of whack, like HIT, the computer. We had 2 computers crashed and burned that we've had to replace. That was not anticipated, but for the most part, on the hospital side, we're running under the projected budget numbers. On the nursing home side, we're running under as a whole, but there's 2 or 3 departments over there that are running 10% higher. But April and Jennifer have squeezed the nursing budget down over there, that they're about 15% under in the 2.5 months of these projected numbers. But that's the good news on what's happened with versus last year versus this year. Revenues are still really hard to predict.
is our picture for budget, it's not really gonna improve much from this right here, and we can't just keep putting
No,
it
and our
off.
budget is like how many months behind now?
Yes, but one thing, we can't keep putting this off, even though we don't have it clear the way we want it. At some point, we're just gonna have to do
We
this.
won't have it clear either.
No.
Not right away.
No.
I bet it won't be clear till time for the next budget.
Right, but I mean, we can't keep
That's
tabling
what
this and we
that's
just
what I
can't
was
keep.
driving
I'm
at.
saying February, now, don't say, maybe March,
can't
but
just
I'm
keep
thinking
sweeping
Well,
it
that's
under.
getting
February.
pretty close.
We gotta deal with it.
Well, basically, all we can do, I think, is approve the budget with strong recommendations that money is really strictly
And,
not spent
Right.
unless absolutely necessary.
and with the realization that this is not an exactly accurate
Right.
picture. So,
Do we have a
I'll make
motion
a
to?
motion that we approve the budget with strong recommendations,
Sandy?
and we realize, yeah.
Made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Marvin's made the second. Any more discussion about anything on the budget before we vote? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. It's even hard to call this a budget, really. It's not your fault, Amy.
I did the best I could with what I had to work with.
Yes, I think you did good. Okay, new bank account for resident trust fund.
Do I make a statement on that?
Yeah, cause
In-
we need
in
to
the-
know what it
okay.
is.
What is that?
All right,
Yeah.
we have to have two trust fund bank accounts for the nursing home residents. One is for family contributions for clothes, toothpaste, or whatever. The other is for their Medicare, off of their Medicare checks. They're allowed to keep $60 for personal use items. Those by law have been required to be a interest-bearing checking account. Well, originally, I think when this was first set up, this bank here did not have interest-bearing checking accounts, when we were told. They have them now. Ralph worked through, we can transfer those accounts to the local bank. That's all I'm asking.
Is it just one account that you
Well,
ever,
you have to actually keep two.
but somebody keeps track of whose money's in that account?
Yes, it's individually kept. And, now that we have the interest-bearing checking accounts here, there's no reason to keep those accounts in Hamlin. I feel like we should move them back here, so.
I'll make a motion, we open the account.
Okay, Martha made a motion, have a second? Sandy seconded, all those in favor?
Well, wait just a minute.
Oh, wait,
Wait just a
discussion.
minute. That motion needs a little more to it.
Oh, okay, so
Who's
we
gonna
need
be
more
on the
discussion.
signature card?
Who's on the current signature card?
Current signature card is Faye, are you on? Deborah, and one other person, there has
I
to be
think it was
three.
Rhonda. And
How
then
many
Rhonda.
signatures on each?
I think each one each check requires two.
like
So,
ours. But at the time, y'all could always ask, add Steve.
That's what I'm saying, I
After
think
he
that
gets here.
the nursing home administrator needs to be on there also.
I think the motion on, it's gonna have to say who's gonna be on the signature.
Okay, you're right. My
Those
mistake.
people that he said. Faye, administrator, nursing home administrator, Deborah, and Rhonda.
No.
Cause Rhonda does a lot of the picking up items.
But now,
Well, but this is different though.
If you have to get stuff for.
that Rhonda's is an
toothpaste and
activity
stuff.
fund, and that, they already have that account, that's an
Yeah,
activity fund.
Yeah, they already have it. This is for patient. It's just
This is
patient
just out of
related.
their, in other words, if the nursing home, if somebody's in there and their check goes directly to the nursing home is required to take X amount of dollars out of that.
Yeah, on the Medicare.
Well, you were describing two different
Yeah.
accounts.
Yeah, there's one there that you can't.
So,
that
but
you
this is
can't
just the
mingle.
one out of the people,
Right.
out of their
Well, you
It's
account.
can't-
like,
you
in the
can't
case
mingle.
of, my mother-in-law, if her check is direct deposited in her account, my wife tends to that.
Right.
We don't participate in
Yeah,
the
you don't
trust fund.
participate.
No, same way
Is
with
that right?
Daddy.
Yeah.
But the reason there's two accounts is she has one, resident that receives a VA check. And that VA check cannot go in a Social Security account. It
And
has to be
go into
separate.
that one.
Yes, it has to be separate.
Yeah.
Right now, there's only one account over there at Hamlin. But I think this has to be changed by March of next year, but there has to be two accounts.
So are we only opening one account?
No, there'll be two here, one for the Social Security and one for the VA.
Well, what's gonna distinguish the difference? I mean,
This
the
doesn't,
account's
that
gonna be
doesn't,
named
it's not
different.
the way this is
Trust
worded.
number one or trust number
Well,
two?
sure,
or how do you
she'll
do
set
that?
it up how
This
it
is
needs
only
to be
worded
set
for
up.
one account.
We'll have
It
to
just
have
says
two.
opening a new bank account. So basically, we're really opening two accounts?
Yeah, really needs to be.
Does the motion need to include what each account is designated for, or does it just need to say two accounts?
I think it needs to say what they're for. We'll go ahead
Because
and
it
do
helps
both
for
of them.
future reference, that's more than what it
I
is.
don't really know how she's gonna name them.
Okay, so we're,
Well, they could be trust number one and trust number two. And trust one could be for the actual Social Security, and then the second trust could be for whatever, the VA or whatever.
Or
throw in.
any other kind of,
Or any other,
checks that they
any other
receive,
kind of
yeah.
payment.
So that could be like if the family wants to give them, put, or put in there for it.
that would be income to them, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't wanna get into that ballgame.
No, but didn't you say that there needs to be
Yeah, but-
something set up like that?
Well,
yeah,
I
if
think
they're self-paid, they're not even,
Yeah,
this is
no,
This doesn't
strictly,
even have to deal
yeah.
with them.
yeah, they can't give them money.
But, didn't you just say something about,
Well, yeah, I thought there was the family contributions to help with, say you need underwear or something, I mean, I don't know what it would be for, but.
Isn't that, doesn't that come out of their money that they get to keep?
That would come out of their money.
$60. Yeah, that's their $60.
what it is?
Yeah, that's what that is.
Like I said, I just knew that, I didn't understand it totally, but all I knew was that I didn't want an accountant handling with the ability to have it here, so.
But did she not come back and say that those accounts have to stay at a certain balance? Have you got that worked out?
Oh, Ralph, one of them will be no problem at all, the other one, he's gonna exempt that requirement. And there's also a requirement that you can only have 25 transactions a month in them, but he waived that also. He waived all the restrictions on it, he didn't see a reason for it.
I don't think there would have been any
No,
transactions.
one account only has like 5 a month, so.
Okay,
Ralph
so-
waived all that, so.
So you wanna name it trust fund account 1 and trust fund 2, or?
That's what I would do.
That's fine with me.
That's.
As long as
that's
you know
my
which
motion.
one.
You made one.
Well, make a new motion, I withdraw my motion, and somebody make a new one with all the different things.
or do we just modify?
Okay,
I
so,
just modify Martha's motion. Word to word.
Yeah, trust fund
That
1
we open those accounts entitled
for,
trust number 1 and trust number 2 with the following people signing the
Blah, blah,
signature
blah,
card.
signature card.
And then whoever else said sign the signature card.
okay, all those in favor of that motion? Okay. You got all that, didn't you?
I'll read more, yeah, I'll put it.
Are you confused now?
Okay. Last item is Christmas bonus. My personal opinion is not, I mean, it's not gonna be good, but I think where we are financially right now, I think we need to waive Christmas bonus right now. 'Cause we don't have a clue where we are.
I think we ought to have a Christmas bonus, that, I mean, they've never been told otherwise, and a lot of people.
Let's hear
depend on
from
it.
Andy.
What is the Christmas bonus that y'all usually get? I don't.
$100.
$100 for
Full-time, 50
full-time,
part-time.
50 for part. What's the total cost us? I mean,
But
we're
you
gonna put
also,
this-
what y'all do is pay the Social Security and Medicare portion of that. It's not, that's not, charged to the employee, 7.65%. Just a rough estimate, around $10,000.
Is that,
But you got about 77 full-time and 15 part-time.
is that nursing home and
Yes,
hospital?
ma'am. We've got 92 employees.
Go ahead.
I'm tied between, I mean, I'm pulled 2 different directions with it.
Yeah, that's a hard deal.
Yeah, it's hard, I mean, it's hard.
I mean, I wouldn't mind them getting
This
Christmas
Christmas-
bonus, but financially.
Financially, it's not a good deal for us, but employee morale too, the employee take their.
That's gonna go over like a lead balloon.
It can go over, you're
Well,
exactly
you know
right.
what? I understand that, but
And that's why I'm torn between the two, I mean, it's depending on my mood, the way I feel about it, one minute to the next. I know I put a lot of heat on people, I really do, I press them pretty tough. And I can assure you that that's just gonna get worse this next year, I'm not gonna back off on it, so.
I think this late in the game, we ought to do it. If it was in November, October, people would be prepared for not getting it.
I make a motion we do.
I'll second it.
any more
I'm not
discussion?
for it, but I got to, you know.
I agree with what Martha said.
I mean, if we thought about this in November, or I mean, October, maybe we need to put that on our calendar to make sure in October we talk about
We gotta quit
bonus
spending.
in
We
December.
gotta quit spending
December.
somewhere, but this,
But I think,
There are
I know
places to
a lot of
cut
people,
and
well,
Is 10,000 gonna break us that much more if we're already in the hole? Is
Well, we
10,000
can,
gonna do that much?
so we're really close, but
I just really think things are gonna clear up in the next few months, I hope. I mean, I'm, well,
Okay,
My feelings
so we
count.
have well, we haven't voted on this yet. We have a motion,
and so,
to give, is it gonna be the 100 for full-time and 50 for part-time?
What's been in the past.
Now, did they get that full $100?
Mm-hmm.
And, Martha made the motion, Buddy seconded it. Any more
No,
discussion?
No,
made the
Oh,
motion.
I made the motion.
Oh, Buddy
She
made it.
seconded it.
Okay,
Sandy
seconded.
seconded. I didn't-
You did.
okay. Buddy made it,
Sandy seconded.
Any more discussion on that?
And it's gonna be 10,000, including
Around,
what the
yeah.
hospital has to pay the taxes.
All those in favor? Okay. We are adjourned.
Uh,
This is a Christmas card from the alternative.